This video shows how I made the test object in Wings 3D. I'm also going to try, if I'm lucky, and induce a bug in Bryce and fix it. Now, I've had several goes at making this video because it doesn't always break, so it's a bit annoying, but let's crack on with it. So right click, I'm going to start with the torus but use this little button on the end so I can modify the attributes, and I have 4 sections and 4 slices, so that's what that looks like. Select the edge tool and select 2 of these edges on the outside and press L for loop, right click and loop cut. If you can't see the geometry graph at this point, go to window and switch the geometry graph on, and you will notice we've got 1/2 selected and 1/2 not selected. Use this I button here to hide the half that isn't selected. Press space to deselect the object, select face and select this square on the end. Now bring back the other half that was hidden and then press I for identical. That will select all the faces that are squares that have been caused by the loop cut. Right click, rotate, normal, hold the shift key down and put in a 45-degree rotation. Select entire object, right click and weld those together. So those faces have been welded together, and you can see the vertexes on the outside have become highlighted. Select the entire object, press S for smooth, press space, edge tool. So if I select that edge there and leave an edge and select another edge and press G and then go to face, you can see we've got this stripy effect. What that demonstrates is that face is a continuation of the face on the bottom, and likewise. So we've got 2 Mobius surfaces there. Take advantage of these by right clicking and extruding them a bit. It doesn't matter how much, just make a random choice, and then right click and use shell extrude, which will create 2 more new bits of geometry which will appear in the geometry graph when you've done it. So just extrude those a bit and you can see there's the new geometry. Select entire object will show them up, and this and that are continuous. I'm going to hide those and just process this middle section now. Edge tool, select an edge on the inside like that, press G to take it all the way around the outside, so that's now continuous, and then press L for loop, and you want to cut this up into separate segments. So if the loop didn't complete, press L again, right click and loop cut, and that should chop it into lots of different sections. You want every other section selected like so. Bring back one of the outer loops, right click and weld. Don't select or deselect anything at this point, just hide that new shape that's been created and bring back the other loop. Select entire object, select all those components, right click and weld those together. Now at this point the weld points are highlighted as they were before when we did the last weld, and we want to get rid of these odd bits in the cross sections here, these outer sections. So what I'm going to do is select inverse, use the minus key to shrink the selection, then the plus key to grow the selection back again, and hit delete, and that will just leave us with these webs. I'll show you that once again. So bring back the other shape, the weld points are highlighted, select inverse, minus key, plus key, delete. So now we've got our 2 shapes. Now this is the tricky bit. This is where I'm going to try and create a bit of geometry that there's nothing wrong with, but that Bryce misinterprets. So select this edge selection here, select an edge on the outside and another one, press G to continue those around the outside, press C to connect the middles of those together, and then right click and bevel those out, and then right click again, extrude those and take them in to create some troughs. And at this point I want to create another new bit of geometry, so I'm going to right click and shell extrude normal and take those out. So I've got 2 more, if I hide the bits that remained, loops, which as you can see that they're not collapsed in any way, there's nothing wrong with them, but I'm hoping that Bryce won't be able to interpret those properly. So then I can show you how to fix that problem. So I'll take my entire shape, select it all, and use the S key to smooth it down. So press smooth and smooth and smooth. So it's getting quite complex, and in fact I want it like 1 more level of complexity than when I could get away with, because of I'm hoping there's a problem, then I can fix it. I'm going to use decimation to solve that. So press smooth once more, which might take a little while and mean that the model is going to take a while to export. So go File, Export, Wavefront OBJ. I'll call it Test Shape, overwrite the last one I did. So that's going to take a little while to export, and you can see the progress bar there, and it must get all the way to the end before you can do anything with it. So I'll bring up my folder, and it's still exporting. Come on, Wings, don't crash on me now. Okay, so that's exported, and in here test shape size is 12.8 megabytes. So just take a note of that, and we'll launch Bryce. So what should happen is that I bring this in, import the object, and it looks fine, but when I add it to the library or save the Bryce file and bring it back in again, the outer edges become inverted. And this is a bug, and Horo's managed to determine that it's appeared in later versions of Bryce. In earlier versions of Bryce didn't have this, so it's a Bryce bug, nothing wrong with the model. So I'm going to import my object, get my object here, and load it in. And I'll drop it on the ground and move my camera around so we can get a good look at this and determine that, you know, there is nothing wrong with it really at this point. So we'll just give that a quick render. So that looks okay. And then what I'll do is I'll add that to the library. I'll find a library spot for it. So I'll add it in here. Go OK, looks fine. And then if I go back to it, you can see that the edges look very dark. So if I bring this back in from the library, even though I've just added it, you just have to change the selection in the library to see that it's not working. And then move my camera over this, and you can see that it's got this black outline where it should be light grey, and in fact this is an inverted normal. You can fix this by smoothing it, but depending how complex your shape is, it might take a long time to run the smooth, and you don't really want to have to smooth every geometry in your scene every time you load your scene if you've got this bad geometry occurring. You can see even with this relatively simple shape, it's taking a while to process. Imagine a much more complex shape made of many components, and you could end up having to wait half an hour for Bryce to finish smoothing all the objects. So you can see that's fixed it anyway, but we want a more permanent fix. I'm going to use MeshLab to decimate it, but if I send the object to MeshLab as it is, it will weld it all into one object. What I need to do is assign materials to each component, so we'll do that now. So here, if I select that entire object there, and then go to face, right click material, right click on material, call that 1, OK, assign a colour to it at random, OK, and then we'll go and select entire object, select that one, I'll deselect that one, and got to, if I get this right now, select entire, select face, right click on material, call that 2, go OK, give that a different colour. Doesn't really matter what for the purposes of this quick demonstration. Select that one, go to face, right click on material, call that 3, and we'll give that one a different value. What's it going to be? Green. Okay, that'll do. So press, oh, did I fail to give that a colour then? Ah, that's because I did it in the ambient channel. It's probably change these anyway, so I just want to make sure they all look different, so make that one green, and don't leave any with the default material. Apparently that can cause problems, so select this last bit, right click on material, I'll call that 4, go OK, we'll make this one, I don't know, not red, because that's the selection in Wings, and that always confuses me when I do that, so let's put yellow's there somewhere. OK, so I've now got my 4 different bits with 4 different colours applied, and I'll export that again, which will take a moment as it did before. I'll probably just pause the video as I did last time, so I'll just export over my test shape. And it's important to ensure that it does complete its progress. Oh, it seems to be doing better this time. I wonder why that is. Oh no, it's still taking its time. Okay, that's exported then, and now I'm going to launch MeshLab, which always opens in the other window. It's very handy to have 2 monitors. So here's my shape, and remember it's 12.8 megabytes, and I'm just going to drag and drop from the other monitor. It doesn't matter what, if you just have 2 monitors, even if it's an old CRT, it's very handy, and you can see it's brought in, but it seems to have meddled with the colour somewhat, not that we care about that. And I want to go filter, remeshing, simplification, reconstruction, quadratic edge collapse, decimation, select that. Here's my decimation dialog. I want to preserve the topology, and I think that will be fine. The number of faces seems to go down by about half, and hopefully that will also reduce the memory footprint. So I'll just go apply, We see there's a progress bar there to say that's done, and then go to File, Export Mesh, and overwrite my original, and then hopefully, if we're going to do this all right now, if I go back and select that, it's gone down to 8.41 megabytes, and I'll go back to Bryce and delete these two. File, import object, test shape 1, OK. Right, and then go and add that to the library. So add that to the library now. So there it is. And if I click back and click back again, hopefully these outer edges are going to behave themselves. You can see it's actually remembered some of its colours. Bring that in here. Have a look at this object. Looks good. I'll set it all into the default grey, so it was like it was last time. And you can see that it looks fine, and there are none of these inverted edges. So I'm going to finally add that to my library. That's my test shape. Okay, and that could be what appears in the next videos. So that's the end of this video. I hope you found that interesting, informative. Both Wings 3D and MeshLab are free applications, which is very handy for doing these little modelling projects. And there you go then. That's that.